Good afternoon. I'm Bill Cole, President of the West Virginia State Senate. It gives me great pleasure to be here today to welcome Governor Kasich to our state. And if I might, just a quick little story that he won't remember, but back in the early 1980s, I believe, when he was a freshman congressman, just arrived in Washington. I was in Washington for a meeting with the American Truck Dealers Association, and he graciously came in to speak to us, and I listened to him, and I said, man, this guy is good. He really gets it. He is going to go places. Now, I'm proud to say that I was right, because the man certainly did go places, but we certainly wanted to welcome you to West Virginia today. And at this point, I'd like to introduce Senator Ryan Ferns to have also a few words.
Thank you, everybody. As many of you probably know, at the beginning of this session, I introduced Senate Concurrent Resolution 13, which calls for a balanced budget amendment calls for West Virginia to join what is now 25 other states in calling for a convention of states for a balanced budget amendment to the U.S. Constitution. And as a young legislator myself, I look to the leadership of Governor Kasich. He's been out in front on a national level on this issue, an issue that I think is critical for myself, the younger generations, and for our state and for our nation. And so I invited Governor Kasich to our state to join us and share his expertise with us on this issue. And I'm extremely honored and privileged that he's decided to join us, and couldn't be happier that he's taking the lead on the national level on this issue. And with that, I'll turn this over to my counterpart in the House, Delegate John Overington.
Thank you. It's great to be here. This is an issue that for 30 years I have been working on. It's been an uphill battle, but when we have an ally like the governor from Ohio here to help us, back 30 years ago, we were talking about deficits that were in the millions and billions. Now it is in the trillions, where it is getting a lot more serious. And that's where it's great to have the governor of the state of Ohio here to help in this battle to get West Virginia behind this for us to become maybe state number 26 in the balanced budget effort. So with that, I'd like to introduce our governor of Ohio.
Thank you, John. So thank you, Mr. President. And to John, he's been working on the balanced budget amendment longer than I have been. He's been doing this for 31 years, right? And I've been on it about 30 years, and I just think it's critical for people like your young legislators here who are going to be having to spend so much of their lifetime earning money, some of which is going to be used to have to pay off the $18 trillion debt. And I don't know how much it's gone up since I arrived here today, but it's not sustainable, and I very much worry about the most important thing to all of us, and that's economic growth. And economic growth, of course, means jobs, and jobs means stronger families. It's so important to us. Before I say any more about that, I have to tell you that I love West Virginia. Now, a lot of people would hear me say that, and they say, well, there's a guy running for something. No. The only thing I'll be running for is the Pete Dye Club sometime this summer. I love coming here. I think West Virginia has so much potential because of its geography, because of its natural resources. And there's another thing, the quality of the people and the quality of the lawmakers in this state. And I believe that West Virginia's best days are yet to come. I had an opportunity to talk to the governor about some things that we can do, and also with the president, not in depth, about maybe some sharing of economic development. We've already had our drug and rehab experts talk to the chairman of your health committee. We think we should be involved in drug interdiction. In other words, Ohio and West Virginia are kissing cousins, and we need to get together more often. We need to be closer because we have an absolute interest between the two of us. And the governor mentioned Pennsylvania, which forms that tri-state area, really. And you take Ohio and West Virginia and Pennsylvania, where I come from, Ohio, where I'm the governor, and West Virginia that I love, maybe we can do a lot of good things here for the people of the region, and it's important. I support the balanced budget because I was a legislator, and I saw what it did as a legislator to force us to make decisions and have discipline. But I was also a United States congressman and chairman of the Budget Committee when we actually balanced the budget and we started to run surpluses. We actually started to pay down, Mr. President, a chunk of the publicly held debt, which hadn't been done before in a very, very long time. And we were running a $5 trillion surplus. I left Washington, and my friends in Ohio warned me that once I and our gang of change agents had left Washington, it would disappear, which it did. And the Republican House, the Republican Senate, and the Republican White House was instrumental in spending that $5 trillion and even a lot more. So balanced budgets are really not just about Republicans, they're not just about Democrats, they're about all of us who are public officials. And we frankly need to have in place in Washington a discipline that forces the Congress, Republicans and Democrats alike, to work together in creative and innovative ways to balance our budget. Because, you know, if you can't balance a budget, you can't create a whole lot of good in anything else. When I became governor, we were $8 billion in the hole, the largest deficit in $8 billion in Ohio history. And I can tell you that if we hadn't had a balanced budget requirement in Ohio, we'd still be in the hole. But because of the discipline and the fact that we pay attention to the discipline, we've been able to straighten out the budget. We now are running surpluses. We're now up almost 300,000 jobs over the period of the last 4 years. And we're able to share the benefit of that prosperity with people at all ends of the economic spectrum. And we have been able to reach people who have traditionally lived in the shadows, all because we now are solid, because we know how to manage our budgets. We know that that leads to good things, including the tax cuts that we've been able to do, and be able to share the benefit of that prosperity with so many, which I think is our purpose as elected officials. So we know what it does in the states. We need to do it in Washington before that number gets up to, and I wouldn't think it'd be far off to get up to around 25 trillion. And when the interest rates rise, Katie bar the door, we will have immense problems. And so if we can get the Congress to move on a track to be responsible and over time to balance a budget, you know, with exceptions in terms of war and severe economic downturns, and we're going to be on the road to seeing a cultural change in Washington. And I'll say this, presidents come and presidents go and the debt keeps going up. And that's not the way it ought to be in America. This is a basic American value to not spend more than what you take in, to make good choices, to have personal responsibility. And I've asked the people of West Virginia, the legislators, to pass that amendment and become the 26th state as we get closer and closer to a call for a convention or a call for the Congress to enact a balanced budget themselves. So we'll see. So thank you. If there's questions, we'll all try to answer them. Do we need anybody else to say a word? Huh? Come on, we got a bunch of, no? I would like to ask Mrs., what is your?
Carol Miller.
Carol Miller. I want to tell you, her father was a congressman from the 12th District. I became the congressman from the 12th District in Columbus, Ohio. And her dad was one of the great leaders. In fact, he was the number 3 ranking Republican in the United States House of Representatives. He had dignity, he had class, he loved his country, he was a fantastic man. And now it's such an honor for me to come down here and meet his daughter. I'm only mad at her that she left Ohio. So thank you all.